Well, the UK obviously currently due to leave the European Union at 11 o'clock on Friday night. If no extension is granted in Brussels, the default position would be for the UK to leave on Friday without a deal. Let's go to Westminster. Our chief political correspondent, Vicky Young, joins me now. I mean, there's huge pressure on Theresa May in Brussels, and there's going to be huge pressure when she gets back.
Yeah, I think so, and that's because, of course, there'll be some MPs here who don't want any delay to Brexit at all, and they are dismayed about the fact that she has gone there to ask for more time. Now, she says, of course, she wants a short extension to Article 50, a short delay, but of course it's not in her hands, it's up to those other leaders, which is why there's going to be a bit of a waiting game tonight, and then we expect her to come back here tomorrow and probably to update MPs on all of this. Let's discuss this now with the senior Conservative backbencher, Sibylle Cash, who's with me now. What do you make of Theresa May going and asking for another delay to Brexit?
Well, first of all, she said, I think it's 110 times that she wasn't going to extend. That's the first point. The second thing is to get quite clear that motions in the House of Commons are not the same as acts of Parliament. And I've written to Donald Tusk advising him that there is very likely to be a legal challenge to the way in which the government is going about all this for a very simple reason. The government cannot exercise its powers to frustrate the intentions of Parliament. The intentions of Parliament were made absolutely clear, and that, by the way, applies to international treaties as well. And the reality is that the two acts of Parliament in particular are the Notification of Withdrawal Act and also the Withdrawal Act itself. The Withdrawal Act contains the repeal of the European Community Act 1972 from exit day. Now, the fact that exit day may be extended doesn't make any difference to the main legislative intention and the main legislative effect, because the repeal of the 1972 Act, which applies to all the laws, etc., are all bundled together, and that goes in lockstep with the exit day itself.
But the Parliament has made its views clear, the House of Commons has made its view clear, it doesn't want no deal at all, and the Yvette Cooper bill passed saying to the Prime Minister, please go and ask for a delay.
Well, so what? Because actually it doesn't have any...
In the end, trying to get something through Parliament when the House of Commons doesn't agree is very difficult for a government.
It may look like it, but the reality is that a motion is not the same as something that has legal effect. That is the key issue. We've been through this several times over the last few months.
But it feels like you're going against the tide of opinion in the House of Commons. No, in the sense...
we're sticking to the rule of law.
Yeah, but in the sense that how do you get bills through Parliament if you don't have backing in the House of Commons for it?
Well, the bottom line is that, for example, we're going to have the withdrawal and implementation bill to follow any withdrawal agreement if it gets through, which I don't think it will. But the reality is that all these pieces of legislation are what make acts of Parliament. That is the rule of law. The law of the land is quite clear. The law of the land is that we are leaving the European Union, and that is set out in what's called Section 1 of the Withdrawal Act. It couldn't be clearer.
But the reality is that tonight it will be very much certain that we won't be leaving on Friday. Whatever you say, and I understand that you're saying that about the law as it stands, the reality is we didn't leave on the 29th of March and we're not going to leave on Friday.
Well, Vicky, I understand what you're trying to say, but if I could say to you, they thought that about before the Gina Miller case, and then that changed everything. So for practical purposes, we're on similar kind of territory. And I'm not talking idly about a likely challenge in the courts. There are very, very distinguished and preeminent lawyers involved in the analysis that I sent to Donald Tusk. They're on notice that if they make this decision, and in particular, if they impose conditions, because that would merely magnify the degree of unlawfulness. So there we are. And in addition to that, at a more practical note as well, this is very practical law, but I'm talking about the amount of money concerned. Every time they make an extension, for example, if they offer an extension or suggest a suggestion for 1 year, that is another £12 billion for the British taxpayer.
But you know what many will say to you, if you'd voted for Theresa May's deal, we would have left on the 29th of March, we would have left last week. Is a part of you worried that actually you might have blown the chances of Brexit happening at all?
No, and for this reason that I've just explained.
You think it will have to go to court?
Well, no, it's not as simple as that either, because the two things run together. I'm not excluding the fact that it will be very important to have it tested in court, but what I'm also saying is that the anchor to the referendum, which remember was passed, the Referendum Act, the Sovereign Acts of Parliament, was given by Parliament to the people to make the decision. That is encapsulated, it is embedded in the anchor to the referendum, which is the Withdrawal Act, which says we repeal the European Communities Act. That is the law, and it's, forgive me for putting it this way, but it's not, for, if I may say with respect, for you to say, oh, well, you've got to be practical about this, it's going to happen. Believe me, if you do something which is unlawful, it can be undone. That's what happened in the Gina Miller case. This may well be the position here as well, but nice for you to ask the question.
And Theresa May, her position, she has said that she will stand down as leader if she gets her first part of Brexit through, which, as you say, at the moment looks unlikely. Do you think that she should stand aside for a different person?
Well, I've said I voted against her remaining as leader a few weeks or months ago, and my own view is that every time we see another broken promise, and this extension of time is yet another one. What are the conditions? What is the, as I said in the House of Commons, the supplication of the EU? I think I said going on our hands and feet to the European Union. The European Union is dominated by Germany. Everybody knows that. Sir Paul Lever, in his book Berlin Rules, former British ambassador to Germany, said the Germans are determining the ultimate outcome of these negotiations. They set the rules in the first place. We really have to be very realistic about this. France is also involved, and the bottom line is that the member states are working together to make it as difficult for us as possible, and we must not allow ourselves to be intimidated.
Okay, Sir Bill Cash, thank you very much indeed. And that certainly will be the case tonight, of course, with those EU leaders deciding behind closed doors whether the UK is or isn't allowed this delay to Brexit.
Vicky, thank you very much. Vicky Young there.